Lights are bright. I'm John Kennedy, former member of the State House and chairman of Citizens Alliance of Pennsylvania. Some know it as CAP. Loma Henry said to me a month ago, "I'd like you to introduce Scott Wagner. You'll have about 2 or 3 minutes." And I said, "That I cannot do." So I thought to myself, how are you going to do in 2 or 3 minutes 59 years of anyone, particularly Scott Wagner? And so I thought to myself, this is not an introduction this morning. This is a celebration. It's a personal celebration, and it should be one for you as well. And let me tell you why. I've known Scott for about 10% of his adult life, 5, 6 years. Here's what I've learned. He has a heart of gold, a real big heart of gold. And no one attacks problems like he does. I was told that by his initial accountant 40 years ago, Bill Carter. He's a tremendous employer, treats people very, very sweetly when nobody is looking. He's fiercely independent. But Scott has been preparing himself for political life for most of his adult life, funding politicians, causes, all of those things. But when the Senate seat came up in York County, I saw it in his eyes, because I had the pleasure of working with him for 5 years as he played a major role in lifting Citizens Alliance of Pennsylvania. It was an idea then, it became relevant, and some would say it's a mini force now for good and for change in Pennsylvania. But I saw it in his eyes. He said, "I can win that." And so off he went. There was, for you who do not live in central Pennsylvania, there was a political inferno that went on for about 15 weeks. The television talked about this millionaire trash man and all the awful things he did from the opponents, some of which are his colleagues today. And so I had the pleasure of standing at a polling post in rural York County early in the morning of March 18th, 2014. And we're talking about a special election write-in vote. It never happened before. And out of the car, I had a little Wagner sign standing there by the polling door. And a farmer man, dressed like a farmer, got out. And he walked up to me. He was snarling. "Are you a Wagner man?" I said, "I'm a Wagner man." He says, "I don't know my father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. We've been in York County since 150 years, and I'm a staunch Democrat. But I don't understand how they could say so many bad things about a man on that television who's done so many good things and been so successful. And I just hope when I go in there to vote that the place doesn't collapse." And I knew right then and there that Scott Wagner is probably going to win this special election. He did. He thumped the process. But I knew from the tone and feel that farmer voted that day. So we made history. And I like to look back upon it as like the New Deal. Roosevelt had a New Deal. We have a New Deal now in Pennsylvania. On April 2nd, I was invited to sit on the Senate floor. Having served 8 years in the House, I was never in the Senate. But I had the pleasure with my wife and many of others to sit there. And I thought to myself, I'll bet you William Penn and Ben Franklin are winking, because here's a new senator who's going there, and maybe for a long time, possibly never, has anyone entered the Senate in the attitude, let's figure out how to fix this, because we can be better than this. That was the attitude that I know that was in the heart of Senator Wagner, and a passing thought of my own. And so he went to work, attacking the problems, naming names, and changing the culture. And, you know, there's a lot of brilliant people who serve in our legislature, past, present, and in the future. And when they enter, their hearts are right, and something happens along the way. And maybe that's why Pennsylvania is somewhat broke today, but we're going to fix it. But Senator Wagner went to work, removing the leadership, changing that around, helping to do that. He needed help to do it. He was leading leaders, and quickly moved and got a dues deduction on the counter. That would have been 10 years out under the old guard, but he got that done. And then he finds himself appointed as chairman of the Senate Republican Campaign Committee and on the Appropriations Committee. These are the very institutions that fought vigorously to keep a man like him out of the Senate. But he needs to be reminded today that he's leading a three-pronged process. He's challenging the process inside, challenging the government unions, at which I may stop for now. He's challenging the real government that's run this place for the last 30 years, the public employee unions. They've had our checkbook. They've paralyzed our growth. But now we have Senator Wagner, 17 other cap incumbents, and a lot of good legislators are lining behind it to begin to fix this place, starting with dues deduction. And here's what the union's response: dumb and dumber. It'll be on your screen here shortly. Governor Scott Wagner, he's dumb. Senator Walker, he's dumb in Wisconsin. Wagner's dumber. In the window on 2nd Street, downtown Harrisburg. This is what their reaction is. They don't know what to do with all this because they've had a 30, 40-year ride. But that's going to change. But here's the third prong. I mentioned to Senator Wagner the day after he won the special election. You will be the poster boy to inspire in the hearts and minds of the men and women who employ people. They will say to themselves, maybe it's time I do something. And they are. Trust me. They're coming to CAP employers to run and seek and serve with Senator Wagner. But he is now inspiring those folks who for 50, 60 years have said, that's enough. I'm done, no hope, it's hopeless. It's no longer hopeless. And so here's the fun part about having Senator Wagner and what's happening here today. Here's the fun part. We're making history. Never in the history of Pennsylvania has there been so many organized conservative groups outside the Capitol, Commonwealth Foundation, NFIB, all of us. We've been working a long time, and thanks to Fred Anton, the late Mr. Scaife, others who've created this. And probably they never dreamed that we would hit a skid row environment in America and in Pennsylvania politically, but now this is the New Deal. We're ready to do the work that we depended on others to do. That's why we pay taxes, and that's why we funded political professional politicians. I am so proud and honored, really, to be a friend of Scott and to be part of something that needs to get done, and it's long overdue. But Edmund Burke, when he said all that was required for evil to succeed was for good men, and I'll add it, and women, to do nothing. We're doing something in Pennsylvania, and we're going to have a lot of fun getting a job well done. I think Ben Franklin would be winking at us because we're no different than the Founding Fathers, sacrificing to serve with a purpose to fix this Commonwealth. I think we should rise, put our hands together, and give a nice big round for our new Senator Wagner. Thank you.